I pulled up to the address, found the address, pulled up to the address so that my back of my truck was, right where it should be so I can just pull the hose down the driveway. And for some reason, I was sitting in the truck and I glanced up and this guy was crossing the street diagonally right in front of my truck, like not less than 10, 15 feet in front of my truck, when he just stopped. And our eyes met for a split second. And I just got this feeling like, all right, I'm not getting out of my truck. I don't know where that feeling came from, but no, I'm not getting out of my truck. I stayed in my truck. I kept looking at him. He turned around and walked back in the same direction he had come from. I found that very odd. But at the same time, I thought I was struggling with, okay, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I'm staying in the truck. He disappeared around the corner. I finished my paperwork in the truck, and I decided, okay, he's out of the area, he's not around. Let me go do my delivery. And I remember just, for some reason, walking backwards up the driveway, which I never do. The best efficient way to drag that hose up that driveway is throw it over your shoulder and leg work. And I just decided to walk backwards up that driveway because I just was still feeling a little creepy, but no, you're being silly, but let me walk backwards up the driveway anyway. I got to the tank, connected the hose to the top of the propane tank. I flipped the switch on the hose to let the propane start filling, and that's when I felt an arm around my neck. And I got picked up in the air. I remember getting slammed against the house, the back of the house, and I realized someone's choking me. No matter which way I reached, I couldn't grab onto anything. And I remember I couldn't breathe, and I kept trying to grab my breath, and I couldn't. And I remember feeling like I was falling asleep. And I remember you get this seashell noise. The only way I can describe it is it's a seashell noise in your ears, like a humming, when you put a seashell up to your ears. And your vision tunnels out. And I literally felt the life go out of me. I just felt so helpless. I'm sorry. And I kept thinking that when I got up this morning, this is not what I thought was gonna happen. This is not at all what it was not part of my plan. This is not happening, not today. I can't believe this is, and all of a sudden I'm like, this is really happening, because I just felt the whole life go out of me, and you get that seashell noise in your ears, and everything just sort of tunnels out, like you're losing. I couldn't breathe. I'm losing it. Everything just tunneled out and lights out. And the next thing I remember, I thought I was home in bed. I thought I was late for work, because I kept hearing this voice yelling in my ear, like, get up, but I couldn't see. And when I started to be able to see, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not home in bed. I'm looking at the back of a house, and I sort of just peeked out of the corner of my eye, and I see the guy that had crossed my front of my truck earlier, and he straddled over me with one leg on each side of me, going through my fanny pouch. My reaction was to reach up without even thinking about it. I don't remember even thinking about it. I just remember reaching up as hard as I could and grabbing him by the testicles and thinking to myself, because this is how silly your mind gets, God, he's wearing baggy shorts. I hope I reached up far enough. And that really pissed him off, He went up behind me. I was in a seated position at this point, my legs out in front of me, and he's got his arm around my neck again, and he is lifting me up in the air and dropping me. And I'm thinking to myself, this son of a is trying to snap my neck. And I'm holding on with both arms for dear life, and he's lifting me up and trying to snap my neck, and for some reason, the thought that comes into my head is, play dead, over and over, play dead. And I did it almost exaggerated. Like, I couldn't believe he fell for it. I exhaled so loud and went limp, like so exaggerated. I just went, and I felt him just let go just a little bit. I had my chance. I slid over to his right shoulder. I bit down as hard as I could on his arm. I reached up with my hands, and I stuck my hands right in his face and just raked his whole face. My finger ended up in his mouth. I literally thought he had bitten my finger off. I thought he had bitten my finger off because I didn't feel the end of it. And I remember all of a sudden I'm on my feet, and we're going at it. We're struggling, we're wrestling. He throws me up against the back of the house, puts his arm around my neck, and just starts wailing on me. We're struggling, he's hitting me, he's just wailing on me, broke my nose. I have a shattered kneecap. At this point, I don't feel anything. And I remember just for a split second, he stopped, and he looked me right in the face and he said, "Give me the effing money." And my response again, I was just, at this point, I'm so mad. I just looked him right in the face. I said, "You know what? F you." We went at it again. I'm blocking his punches, trying to punch him back. He's punching me. I realized that there's a door next to me. I guess it was the back door to the house. And there had been people in the house, which I didn't know. The lady opens, the door flies open, the woman comes out, and she's yelling on the phone. "He's gonna kill her, he's killing her, he's killing her." All I remember is him grabbing the pocket of my shorts and ripping down, and I had put the money, which was cash, stuffed it into a bank envelope, so it was a nice little, pouch of money. And I remember it going up in the air, like in slow motion, and me and him are both looking at it, and I swat it with my hand. And where does it land? The woman on the phone, it lands right in her chest. She runs in the house. He's done with me. He runs in after her. And for some reason, instead of running off to get police or get help, I turn around and run in after him. By the time I catch up, he's got her by the neck. To give me the money, give me the money. And I remember just punching between his arms and hitting him right in the chin and hearing his teeth hit together. And there's a couple of teenagers in the room. One of the teenagers had the phone. She opens the front door and starts yelling at him to get out. "The police is coming, get out." I remember him grabbing his shirt and wiping his face and walking up the driveway, giving us a look like taunting us, and then he took off. The next thing I know, the cops showed up, and they were on their walkie-talkies, and they had caught him like 2 blocks away. I walked right up to him, I looked him in the face, and I said to him, "Remember my face. Remember this face, because I'm gonna be your worst nightmare. I'm going to go to every court hearing that you ever get brought to. I'm gonna be there. I'm your worst nightmare from this day forward." He was HIV positive. He had full-blown AIDS, and every month going for the AIDS testing, I had to be reminded all over again that this idiot still had this power over me. Luckily, I never came up positive, so. I survived because it was him or me, and it wasn't gonna be me. Not that, no. It was either him or me, and it wasn't gonna be me. It wasn't gonna be me.